Yeah, no, we know what you do. We know
pay
what you do. We all
£20 an
pay
hour.
for. No, hold on a second. We all pay for what you do. We know what you do, and you are valued. That's not the point. Where is the next step going to be taken in the right direction? All we hear about is the wrong direction and conflict. What needs to happen next from your point of view?
It's very simple. What we wanted all along was to have an open and honest conversation with our government in a meaningful and positive way. We had a series of negotiations in May after months of being ignored. And unfortunately, in that time, all the government felt prepared to do was put forward an offer of 5%. And this is actually at a time, at least in the latter parts of the negotiation, when they knew fully that this supposedly independent pay review body, which we've heard that they rig anyways, had recommended an uplift of between 8 to 10%. So it shows that our government has not been dealing in good faith, even when we thought they were in negotiations. And that's all we want to do, because as soon as they can put a credible offer on the table that we can take back to our members, we can cancel this strike that we've got going on at the moment and don't ever need to strike again.
Dr. Trivedi, junior doctors in Scotland called off a planned strike last month. A new pay offer from the SNP-led government, 12.4% pay increase next year, 4.5% increase this year. So, admitting there's a little bit of compounding there, you're talking about a 17% increase over 2 years. Would you put that to your membership?
So what we've seen is a difference in the approach by the government. Now, our government has refused to negotiate with us when we had strikes on the table, which is completely separate and different to what we saw with our colleagues over the north. And the difference in what their deal is compared to what we've been offered as well is that there is at least some commitment to review pay in the ongoing years. Now, our current government have already shown that they cannot be trusted with this.
So you work with the SNP attitude, but not with the Westminster government?
I would work with any government that will show a commitment to finding a route to pay restoration. The current government is not going to...
You're not going to get pay restoration because that's 35%. That's what you're asking. I mean, you're simply not going to get that. So that's unrealistic, right?
Well, we're asking for a doctor who's paid £14 an hour to be paid £20 an hour. Rishi Sunak...
But that's not going to happen. You're not going to get 35%. You know that. So can we just get over that? The independent pay review body...
I refuse to accept that because I don't see that why we shouldn't be able to structure a deal over a number of years, which is what we proposed, by the way, in negotiations. For doctors who are working in hospitals, treating loved ones, part of teams that restart patients' hearts when they've stopped, assessing patients.
Yeah, no, we know what you do. We know what you do. We all pay for. No, hold on a second. We all pay for what you do. We know what you do, and you are valued. That's not the point. I'm just trying to work out whether or not what I'm reading here with the junior doctors in Scotland and your co-chair, Dr. Lawrenson, said that he wouldn't accept the kind of deal that the SNP-led government in Scotland have offered because the governments are very different. The Scottish government, there's a basis to work forwards and have a working relationship to negotiate in the future. And look, the Health Secretary, Steve Barclay, has said their mask has slipped. People beginning to feel like you're playing politics. And they don't like it.
I understand what you're saying, and I'll just try and rephrase what I'm trying to say. Okay. I have no idea what the Scottish government is like because I've never had to interact with them.
Well, have you spoken to Dr. Lawrenson?
Yes, I speak to him.
I'm sure he's your...
But I do have an idea of how our government acts, and I know how, in bad faith that they have shown to act both with our predecessors in the BMA and my team that have been discussing with them. So what we would want is something more robust from them, contractual, obliging them to commit them to full pay restoration. If they're able to do that, and that would look like a credible offer, we would happily take that to our members. But they have refused to do that. And more so, just to highlight that they refuse to negotiate with us when we have strikes on the table, which is at a complete odds to what's happening in Scotland. Look, we've got doctors who have graduated after university who've just started last week. They've got 80 to £100,000 of debt Most of them have been shipped across the country.
Yeah, I know, but you only paid that. You only
£14 an hour.
A lot of people graduate into very proper jobs and have to pay that money back, but only after a certain point. I've forgotten the exact amount it is. Look, you can't be using that argument. Most student loans don't get paid back. 70% of it doesn't get paid back at all. You get tremendous pension contributions from the government. You are valued members of society. You are, of course, highly educated. It's cost a lot of money to educate you. You're asking for 35% and you're not going to get it. I'm just wondering, you don't like the independent pay review body. You think Steve Barclay's a horror story. I mean, where's it going from here? People are frustrated. People are waiting for hips and appointments and lungs and God knows what, and that's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of.
Yeah, so if Steve Barclay or Rishi Sunak came back to the table and spoke to us, meaningfully and constructively, then we wouldn't need to strike again. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, I just want to highlight another point that you were talking about progression. Sure, doctors, when they start, earn £14 an hour, but progression in the NHS as a doctor is not automatic. There are rigorous exams, there's competencies that must be met, and there's personal costs that have to be undertaken to progress. It's not guaranteed. And even at the most
You've got great job security and you're tremendously valued. You've got unbelievable pensions. No, I'm just saying that it's a good...
Even at the most senior end of being a junior doctor, doctors who've worked for 10 years, and usually at a more than full-time rate, because an average work week is 44 hours a week, but a lot of doctors are working up to 48 hours a week for 10 years. These are doctors who are going to be doing incredible things like heart surgery, brain surgery, complex medical clinics, treating cancer care patients. They're currently paid £28 an hour. And the simple fact is that they are not valued. They don't feel valued. And there are other places in the world that are willing to value them. And
how many people like
Australia and New Zealand?
Yeah, well, I do hear this.
Want to do anything in our power to retain those highly skilled doctors.
I understand the frustration, and I'm a little bit late here, but I've got to get personal with you because we're speaking, man to man. How old are you?
I'm 31.
Why are you still here?
Because I believe there is a future that medicine can thrive again and that we can go back to an NHS where we're able to provide high quality care. We're not there at the moment, and we're definitely on a downward trajectory. But if we had enough investment into our workforce to be able to build it back, then we can get back there. And I'm willing to fight for that.
If I was you, and I assume you're not married, don't have children, commitments are still... Oh, you are married. Okay, fine. Well, I would go to Australia. I've got to be honest with you. I sympathise with you enormously and your generation. And I have to confess, I think you are being vastly underpaid. I do think that you are valued by public, if not the government. But I would go. I'd be looking all over the place now. I have a huge sympathy. I know we've just had a bit of a semi-scrap, but I am with you. But I don't think you're going to get your 35%, that's all.
I thank you for your support. It's something I've thought about many times. May have to think about more strongly in the future. But for now, like I said, I think that there is a future that I'd be happy with in the NHS in the UK. So I'm going to do all I can to try and get to that.
Let's have a row again sometime. It's good talking to you. Take care of yourself. All the best. Dr. Vivek Trivedi, co-chair of the BMA's Junior Doctors Committee.